So I wanted to talk about, we're talking about Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails, the album cover that you did for them, how many years ago?
Gosh, 97, 98?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see why I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
And that's a band that you had already worked with. And I just wanted to talk a bit about your work and how you got into the music industry and photography, and then also talk about how this project maybe was a bit different to the way that you maybe more often work. So I'll kind of prod you and then you can delve into the bits and bobs about it. So you started off in the music industry with a trip to Lollapalooza, is that right?
Yeah, so I had assisted, I'd done a degree and then I started assisting a music photographer, Ross Halfin, and over that period of working with him, it was in the golden age really where, you know, we were flying all around the world to photograph things for editorials or go on the road with bands. And while I was doing this for about a year and a half, I accrued like a whole load of air miles and then took the plunge and decided to go out on my own to Lollapalooza Festival in 1994, as I knew some of the tour managers of the headline acts, which are the Smashing Pumpkins and the Beastie Boys. So I was really lucky to get like an AAA pass and Axel area, and just had free reign really. Well, not complete free reign. I was always a bit mindful of, I mean, I was quite shy back in those days, so I didn't want to just sort of barge into dressing rooms. Not that I would do that now, but I could shoot, you know, all the performances, and there was like Nick Cave and the Verve, and you know, it was incredible really. But I look back at some of the pictures and go, you know, I didn't have my big pants on. I wasn't brave in some of the situations, but yeah, it was a great way of sort of building up my portfolio, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. And you've worked a lot with musicians ever since, but your personal work, at least more recently, to my knowledge, has been more focused on personality and resonance, and whether the subjects are famous or infamous or not. I mean, there's an overt parallel, isn't there, between two of the projects you've had most notoriety for recently, so that being Resonators, of course, and I think we can see some of those shots behind you, so it'd be nice to hear a little bit about those, but also the Attachment Objects series that you've done during lockdown.
Yeah, called Buddy, which is so basically I love shooting people, and you know, sometimes I have to shoot inanimate objects, but really it's about people. And over the years, I think my skill, or what I strive to capture, is you know, certainly in portraiture or even in sort of documentary, so fly on the wall kind of images, I like to try and capture the essence of who the person is. And Resonators, some of which are behind, was a project that I did, photographing all the sort of legendary guitarists that I could tap up really to be part of the project. It was my own personal project, and it was done in aid of Teenage Cancer Trust, but the first showing of it was at the Royal Albert Hall, and an image of each artist was signed by them and then auctioned on eBay to raise funds. But it was incredible because not only, you know, these people didn't have to be part of the project, but you know, the fact that they agreed to be part of it was a real honour for me. And artists such as Peter Green, who sadly passed away, well, this year, wasn't it, I think? Yeah, he was sort of deemed a bit of a recluse, so to be sort of allowed to photograph him felt like a real privilege. And you know, the sort of process I go through when I'm taking pictures of anyone from, you know, the milkman down the road to Peter Green, I always get a sort of healthy sense of nerves beforehand. You know, I want to make sure I do a good job, and certainly with Peter Green's portrait, I came away feeling like I'd achieved exactly the essence of what I wanted to get from him. But I mean, it was a really incredible project that took me, self-funded. I went to the States and shot Paul McCartney. Was basically the linchpin of my trip to the States. I thought, well, if I can try and get a shot of Paul McCartney, which was potentially going to happen, I'll build in a week of other shoots. So the schedule literally was like Joe Walsh in the AM / PM, next day John Frusciante AM, Paul McCartney PM, and on it went. It was just the most surreal week, but it all worked like amazingly, and it was, yeah, what a thing to do. I look back and think, how did I manage to do that when my son was 4 years old?
Well, it's a great project, and it's great hearing what the musicians that you did photograph say about it, you know, how much they enjoyed being part of that.
I think, well, it was
something special.
You know, the shoots, each shoot individually didn't take very long for the Resonators, but, you know, by the time I'd had a little chat, or some of them I hadn't met before, like Joe Walsh, and he was, you know, they were so welcoming, and they'd even got lunch together, and, you know, really took it very seriously. And then, you know, because the brief that I gave them was that I wanted each guitarist holding their guitar, you know, their beloved #1 love item, then, you know, they all played, actually, and certainly in that sort of downtime before I commanded their attention, they were all, you know, having a little twang, as they do, because you can't give a guitarist a guitar and not expect them to noodle. And as a parallel, sort of jumping forward to what I kept myself busy with in our first lockdown, was, you know, I was just in sort of going a bit crazy with homeschooling, and trying to, you know, sort of adapt to a new sort of normal, where I was doing more sort of, you know, IGTVs and various things, just to sort of show up once a week and, you know, wash my hair and put makeup on. And in amongst all of that, I thought I'd really love to sort of do something that's creative, for my own sanity, because it's, you know, when you are a creative, that is what you do, and it's where you get your joy, and your, you know, that's you live and breathe it. And it's the same with all the musicians, you know, that's they just can't help themselves, that's what they do, and they can't do anything else. And so with the, you know, the limitations that were placed on us all, you know, social distancing, couldn't really go anywhere, couldn't do anything, but I was able to do a project that I've always wanted to do. You know, I've always photographed my kids as they've grown up, done fundraising images for local preschool and the school and stuff, and through the years having done that, I've often, certainly photographing real preschool age children, and they always have, like, they're just quite quirky, you know, they've always got snot on their face, they're always holding like a funny little toy, and their faces are just the most joyous, pure things, you know, you just look at, you just want to drink them in, you know, they're just incredible. So I had thought I wanted to do a project at some point of kids and their comfort toys, and it was only when I was about halfway through doing, I did 60. You can see how bored I was in lockdown. I was like, I've got to get out, I've got to take more. But yeah, while doing that, I thought there's a real interesting parallel between taking pictures of kids with their comfort toys and guitarists with their guitar. You know, immediately by having them, because taking pictures of people can be quite a sort of aggressive in a way. You know, you're literally shooting someone, aren't you? You're sort of, you know, there's no escape. They're you know, like a rabbit in the headlights sometimes. And being someone who hates having their photograph taken, I'm trying to sort of find a way to make the whole experience feel as natural and organic as possible. So, you know, that is a win-win situation with both those scenarios, you know, because they were just very at ease.
Yeah, and it's lovely to hear you talk about it, and that's, you can see, so that makes it very interesting to me to think that the other part of what you do has been working to brief, which is maybe those are skills that you've picked up working to those briefs. How does that, as you did with Performance and Cocktails, how does that feel compared to when you have complete artistic freedom?
Well, generally when I shoot anything for editorial or you know, marketing or such, I have a sort of fairly loose brief. I have an idea of what I want to do, but I quite like it to always have that element of being quite organic. And but like you've picked up on, the Performance and Cocktails shoot had to be very planned, and I'm not adverse to doing that, you know, given whatever brief it might be. But so it was quite an interesting one because it was all a bit of a test, really. You know, it was a little bit on spec. I was shooting it on spec. So, you know, we had nothing to lose by doing it, giving it a go. And the idea was formed originally from an image that Kelly Jones had seen in an Annie Leibovitz book of prison mates kissing their loved ones outside the prison gates. And it's yeah, it's an incredible image. And so we were looking at doing something in a sort of homage to that, really, but incorporating the band in the shot, and then sort of having a few extras filling in what would be the cover image square, and then the gatefold opening would reveal actually the members of the band in amongst the crowd. So, you know, we didn't know how it was going to work out, but I found a location which was a football pitch on the Westway, very near to what is Westfield now. And it's still a football pitch, actually, but it had that element of, I mean, you could see how it was sort of similar to the original in a way. It had sort of the gates, and there was a big open space where all these people could fill. And I was shooting on my medium format camera, which produce like 6x7 centimeter negatives, and I've got the actual ones here. So, you know, the camera is very big, and you sort of look down into it like a sort of...
Can you show us those? Have you got those to show us in front of the camera?
So the camera I haven't got here.
Maybe afterwards you can give us a little view of some of those shots.
The shot, I've got the shots. I've got some contact sheets. Yeah, I've got so the football pitch empty looked like this, and it's quite a cool shot in itself, actually, if you're aware of the front cover image, because it just looks a bit bleak. Everyone's gone. But
can you remember how that location came about, Scarlett? Was that something you'd driven past, you know, so many times and had in your head, or had they?
Well, I can't remember I think I don't want to take full credit, but I do think I somehow found it. Or, you know, I think I've been speaking to my agent Penny, and so between us we were sort of trying to think of what would be suitable, and I can't remember exactly, but I'll just take credit, I reckon. And it was very near to V2 Records, which was their record company. It was on Holland Park Avenue, so it was like really within sort of almost walking distance. And we had done a bit of a casting as well to find some models, but we actually only had, well, I think it was 3 models, and the rest were employees of V2 Records, and then the band slotted in. So actually this image shows the setup without the band in the shot, which is quite cool. So we had empty football pitch, and now we've got, so the models were obviously the kissing couple and the guy laughing here, and then the rest were either friends of the band or employees, and then so then the other thing I did was I was very conscious of, we hired the football pitch for an hour, so realistically by the time we got in there, set up, I think it was either 45 minutes. I feel like it was 45 minutes. So it was really like, look, we have no time. So we had to be ready. I think my friend Lisa was doing makeup, and she'd got everyone, well, certainly the sort of main kissing couple. And so the time was tight. So with that in mind, I think I wanted to be like, I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I got a piece of acetate and marked it up in the center. It was something I could put in my viewfinder and look down into my camera, and then I could see exactly where the sort of fold of the double, of the gatefold of the album was going to be. So that was really useful, although we had to crop the image anyhow, because the dimensions of the 6x7, by the time you put the middle line, it's not going to work for a gatefold exactly, so we had to sort of crop down.
I was going to ask you about that. Were you conscious of where it was going to end up, which is different to having a brief about what kind of photo, but not what format? That is the unique thing about the album cover, is that it's a square or a unfolded, double square. So that you were thinking about that right from the outset.
Yeah, this is it. It was, even though we were sort of doing it on spec, the aim was to try and get this album artwork. So, and luckily it did work. So that was.
It really did.
Yeah, that was good.
It really did. It's a great photo. I'm sure there's some photographers out there or photography fans who'd like me to ask you to say again about the camera. Is it one you still use?
No, sadly, it's in a big case. I mean, crikey, when I look at all the kit that I used to carry around with me to, like, on editorials that I'd go to. So at one point, when there was a lot of music in editorial, and the music, did I say music, or did I say, at one point when there was a lot of money in the music business, and budgets were large for editorials, flying photographers to the States and journalists.
Yeah.
I mean, I would literally come back for a day and then go back again to the States. It was just pretty insane, but incredible. It's not like that now, unfortunately. But yeah, so I would carry a massive suitcase full of my medium format camera with 2 Polaroid backs so that you could check that the pictures were coming out, and then 3 film backs, which in each, I mean, they're pretty. The whole kit itself is really heavy. 3 big lenses, and then light stands, lighting. I mean, I really can feel where the damage was done now. Like, my shoulders are like, ow. That was the 20 years of carrying too much kit around. But yeah, so it's a Mamiya RZ67 that I used for the shot, and I used to use it all the time for editorials, and but it is a heavy piece of kit looking back now, and actually I do feel quite liberated in some levels with digital, in terms of just being able to cope with the amount of stuff I have to carry. But I do love shooting on film. I just don't get the chance to really now. Everyone wants everything yesterday, in fact. Yeah, so I had actually shot V96, I think it was, and V97, but I've certainly got some old images that I had to take of, I think I was shooting it for Kerrang actually, and shooting just, the various bands playing, and they said there's going to be can you get a shot of the Stereophonics meeting Richard Branson? And I think they'd not long signed their deal with V2, and it was a big deal, like in terms of, you know, not a big deal and financially, I mean, it was a big deal that they just signed their deal. How many times can I say deal? But yeah, so I had shot them then, and then in '97 I'd shot a couple of editorials for Kerrang, so I'd been to their hometown of Kamaman, and that was really when I properly first met them, and did some amazing shots on the streets of their hometown with, like, there's one really iconic one of them and Stuart Cable just laughing in his bombastic way, and little girls in sort of the other edge of the frame that's got like graffiti on the wall, and it just feels really that lovely gritty black and white kind of vibe, you know. And quite soon after that I did a on the road feature with them as well, and they were just, and they still are, but they have always just been just a really good laugh to be around, and very, you know, welcoming, and it's really exciting times, you know, certainly at that particular time just before shooting.
They were. It's funny hearing you talk about it all, is that, and that image really takes me right back because it made an impact at the time. For sure. And obviously it did for them because they came to you for it, and then they've come back to you quite recently for the latest lot of shots. Was that last year?
So yeah, so I did a press session with them last year, or at the end of time, where, you know, time is just,
it was everywhere, that in, I think, was it the end of the year before or the beginning of last year anyway?
Yeah, so their last album, it was a press campaign for that, and it was a #1 album, which was incredible, and it was really lovely to shoot them, and since then, actually, a few weeks ago, I had Kelly in the studio here. I had to do a little shot for him. We'd just come out of lockdown and he needed some images doing, and that was really lovely. And I saw Rich as well the other day and did some shots at his home. So it's been a really nice time to sort of reconnect. And they're, you know, we all live fairly locally to each other, so it's it's nice.
I think that's probably a testament to you and maybe them too, that your friendly relations have lasted through those decades.
Well, this is it, you know. It's a funny old business, and, you know, there's only a handful of true friends, I'd say, that I have in the industry. But there's lots of lovely people, but, you know, there's some that are more special.
Well, it's really special to hear you talk about it all. Thank you, Scarlett.
Our pleasure.
Coming to talk on this rainy, drizzly, cold day.
I know. I hope you can't hear the rain on the Velux windows tip tapping.
We've got trees being shredded outside here, so I'm not hearing the rain with you. So it's all good. That was great. Thank you.
Oh, good. Hi, I'm Scarlet Page. Welcome to my studio. I'm going to show you some of the images from my Resonators exhibition that I am housing now in my studio. So come with me. So yeah, here are some of the select images I've got in my studio. Here's the lovely Peter Green, who fortunately we lost this year. But he was such an incredible man to photograph. I mean, what a guitar legend to have in the collection. Also, Albert Lee. It was a really rainy day, much like today. My daughter had been ill and I had to take her on the shoot with me up to London, and she was crying and I was unloading the equipment. But managed to get a serene moment with Mr. Lee. He was a really lovely man. Justin Hawkins. This was an inspiration actually for how I wanted a lot of the images to look by the time they'd been sort of, colour balanced and retouched a little bit. I just love the feel of this image and the colours. Who else have we got? We've got Serge from Kasabian. The incredible John Frusciante. Look at all those cables. I mean, he really lives and breathes music. You can tell. Jack White. I've got that backdrop here in my studio. It's my oh god, we can't get to it. Back here somewhere. Back here we've got a baby blue. Oh, there it is. You can see, tucked away. That's my Jack White blue. Who else we got? Paul Stanley. And we've got John Squire at home in Macclesfield. Kelly Jones. It was lovely when he came in here. Just after lockdown, I got a nice shot of him with his portrait, which is always hanging up here. Billy Corgan. Oh, way up high, we've got Joe Walsh and Graham Coxon. And then there's a few more exhibition prints I've got down here. I've got Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rammstein, when they dressed up as German army women, as you do. Now there's another story for another day. And a brilliant shot of the darkness on the top of the Blue Mountains in Australia, and there is no Photoshop trickery in this plectrum flicking shot. And actually it was used on a single release, I think, and they did Photoshop like the darkness or something onto the plectrum, but it's pretty cool. What a moody sky. We love a moody sky. And so here are some of the images that we were talking about. So this is the shot of basically all the extras on the football pitch minus the band. So there's some shots here where he actually looks like he's eating her, but I don't think he was. So basically the guy in the background here had just recently been in the Cher video for Do You Believe? And these two guys were also extras, but everybody else, oh actually this guy was an extra, but everyone else were record company workers and friends of the band. What else? Oh, and this is the shot of the empty football pitch. Let's have a look, see if we can reduce the flare here. Pretty cool, eh? It's pretty bleak without everyone in it. And ta-da! That's the final finished image as a negative. Woo. Oh, back to front now. Let's flip it around. I'm going to turn this light off. Okay. And there it is. The negative of the image. Okay. All filler. See ya.
Thank you for watching. We hope you liked it. Subscribe and be sure to click the notification bell to catch more of our interviews as they come out. You can also subscribe to the audio version of our podcast wherever you get yours.